Hello and welcome to the 51%, the show about women reshaping our world. I'm Kate Moody. Coming up, another setback for women's rights in Afghanistan. The Taliban closes down secondary schools for girls just hours after they reopened, sending thousands of disappointed students home scared and confused. A trailblazer for diplomacy and gender equality. We look at the life of Madeleine Albright, America's first female Secretary of State. And in a country where teen pregnancy rates are among the highest in Latin America, a women's football coach is helping Brazilian girls to make choices about their future. The Taliban has backtracked on a decision that would have allowed Afghan girls to go to school. 7 months after seizing power, Taliban leaders initially said girls would be able to attend middle and high schools, but their abrupt reversal saw thousands of disappointed students sent home from class. Many Western countries have made girls' education a key condition to providing financial aid to Afghanistan, and rights groups say they're worried about future generations.
Confusion and sadness in the yard of this Kabul high school as female students are sent home early.
ما هم دختر هستیم، ما هم از افغانستان هستیم، ما هم بشر هستیم، انسان هستیم، چرا ما مکتب نریم؟ ما میخواهیم که درس بخونیم، از امارات اسلامی خواهش میکنیم که با ما درس بخونیم.
On Wednesday, the Taliban ordered secondary schools closed to Afghan girls just hours after they had reopened. Western diplomats expressing their frustration at the sudden reversal.
I am deeply troubled by multiple reports that the Taliban are not allowing girls above grade 6 to return to school. This is very disappointing and contradicts many Taliban assurances and statements. All Afghan youth deserve to be educated.
When the Taliban swept back to power in August, most secondary schools for girls were shuttered. Many feared girls would be shut out of education altogether, as in the late 1990s when the Taliban last ruled the country. This week, though, the Education Ministry rekindled hopes for millions of Afghan girls, saying all students could return to class as of Wednesday.
No matter how tough the situation gets, we will remain committed. We'll be stronger. I want to come out of the darkness with my studies and education.
Those hopes dashed as the Taliban now says middle and high school girls' education will be delayed until a plan can be formulated to align them with Islamic law, Afghan culture, and traditions. Classes were already required to be gender segregated and based on an Islamic curriculum, including in universities where women were allowed to resume studies last month. The latest decision comes just 8 days ahead of a major international aid donor conference. Women's rights have been a key point in aid negotiations, with millions of Afghans plunged into poverty amid an economic collapse following the Taliban takeover.
A top diplomat who broke the glass ceiling at the U.S. State Department. A professor, an activist, a mentor, and a mother. Dr. Madeleine Albright has died at the age of 84. Among the tributes that poured in, statements from two women who followed in her footsteps, former Secretaries of State Hillary Clinton and Condoleezza Rice. Rice described her as a trailblazer for women worldwide and a fearless fighter for freedom on behalf of all humanity who changed the world in remarkable ways. Albright arrived in America as an 11-year-old political refugee from what was then Czechoslovakia. She went on to shape a generation of foreign policy and future leaders.
It's a great loss for US diplomacy. Madeleine Albright, the 64th US Secretary of State and the first woman to hold that position, has died aged 84 from cancer, her family announced Wednesday.
She left an indelible mark on the world and on the United Nations. Our country and our United Nations are stronger for her service.
Albright came to the US as a refugee in 1948 from Czechoslovakia, and after entering politics was personally chosen by President Clinton as the US's top diplomat to the United Nations. 3 years later, she was appointed as the country's first female Secretary of State, making her at the time the highest-ranking woman in the history of US government. Known for her tough-talking nature, she was a loud voice pushing for military intervention to end ethnic cleansing in Kosovo and actively promoting NATO expansion. Albright is also recognised for her influence on US foreign policy in the Balkan War. pressing for stronger action from NATO when Bosnian Serb forces led an offensive to Sarajevo that forced an end to the war, and has expressed her regret for not intervening in the Rwandan genocide. Albright remained outspoken throughout her later years, unafraid to criticise world leaders for their decisions, making her a feminist icon to many and the speaker of a now infamous quote.
You can tell our story about how we climbed the ladder, and a lot of you younger women don't think you have to. It's been done. It's not done. Just remember, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other.
Albright was lauded with the country's highest civilian honour, the Medal of Freedom, in 2012, and is also remembered for her use of brooches to send tart political messages in what she explained was a diplomatic tool.
In Brazil, teenage pregnancy is both a health and societal challenge. A recent study by the World Health Organization suggests nearly 7% of girls between 15 and 19 get pregnant. For the past 2 decades, a football association in Rio de Janeiro has been trying to empower local girls, teaching them about sex, sexism, and how to take control both on and off the field. Our correspondents Tim Vickery and Fanny Lothair sent this report from Rio.
Manguinhos, one of Rio's largest favela complexes. On this pitch, Graciara da Silva is out twice a week, energetically coaching her students. In all, about 60 girls aged 6 to 18 come here to prove they can be as good as the boys. In this neighbourhood, where sexist culture is a tough opponent, Graciara uses the ball as a tool for emancipation. She got pregnant at 16, and now she wants to guide these young girls towards a better future than that of early motherhood.
When you become a mother very young, I think the hardest part is not being able to have enough energy to achieve your dreams.
Do you see a lot of teenage mothers in the neighbourhood?
Yes, lots of them.
And what do you think?
That sucks.
Why?
Because they're too young to have children.
This football coach gives sex education lessons without taboos in a very religious country where abortion is illegal.
It's essential to tell them how important it is to take care of their body and their personal hygiene as a girl and as a woman, telling them they have the freedom and the strength to decide what they want, to say yes, I want to have relationships, or no, I don't.
Among her students is Perola, 6 years old. Her mother, Anna, had her at the age of 14 and now works as a secretary in a nearby hospital.
I want her to grow up normally, not to go through what I went through, not to be in a rush to fall in love and make love like me, to become a mother too young like me. And it's a sport she loves playing.
In Brazil, there is very little presence of the state in the favelas. There are no social programs that focus on early childhood. It's at this crucial age that you start raising citizens.
Stars of Mandela aim at raising awareness early to dribble round the hypersexualization to which young favela girls are frequently subjected. A daily challenge for Graciara, a one-woman team in this fight. Here in Manguinhos, there is still no government program for child and adolescent assistance or family planning.
How to make the oceans a safer and more inclusive place. That's the mission of the Black Mermaid Foundation in South Africa. Led by the country's first and only black free diving instructor, the group conducts swimming and snorkeling lessons for underprivileged children.
They call her the Black Mermaid. With one breath, Zandile Ndlovu can dive down to 34 meters deep into the ocean for up to 4 minutes.
In the beginning, I was afraid. I didn't grow up around the sea, and for me it was new. I just remember when I got to 23 meters and I could not go deeper. Not because I didn't have the breath hold for it, but because I was afraid of all the stories that we'd grown up with.
She's since become the first black person in South Africa to qualify as a freediving instructor.
these oceans haven't always been open to everybody. We have a hard history as a country. And so I think waters are new to black and brown communities in a way where it's a free space for us to explore, but we need to learn.
She lives in Cape Town now, but Zandile grew up in Soweto, far from the coast. As a child, she only visited the ocean once.
So what is crazy is here we are on the surface, and never ever did we know that there was life that lived under there. And that's why everyone always says to me to this day, why do you do white people things?
In apartheid South Africa, beaches like these were restricted to white people only. Zandile works actively to open the ocean up to all communities.
Have you swum in the sea before? No. See, this is my mermaid.
Through the Black Mermaid Foundation, she shows underprivileged children how to explore the ocean, so they'll grow up unafraid and become custodians.
I believe that diverse representation in the ocean space is the most important thing. If we want to save these oceans, we need all hands on deck. So you just need to be careful. What is this? Then we can put it back nicely. There we go, beautifully.
Well, that's all for now, but you can get in touch and keep up with the 51% on Facebook or Twitter, and you can rewatch all our previous shows on the France 24 website. Thanks for watching.